Callahan.
What are you?
Police officer.
All right, police officer. This is how we play.
The obsession of the hero I like. The fact that all he cared about was this particular victim, somebody he'd never met.
It's a very American character, the idea that someone will come who sacrifices his own well-being, his sanity, in order to do what has to be done.
When you get a character like that, that's memorable in that big of a way, I think it affects all kinds of filmmakers. Affects everybody who's making movies because they all want to copy it.
First time I saw Dirty Harry, I was a junior in high school.
All right, let's have some fun now.
It was probably when I was about 7 or 8. I saw it on television.
It was one of those films which I watched when my parents were away, which I was sitting all alone. I was much too young.
I've got the kids, and you start screwing around, and the kids start dying.
My friends and I used to sneak into a movie theater in Illinois instead of going to school and watch movies. And we climbed in there one day and we watched Dirty Harry.
Roll, roll, roll. Your boat's a metal. We're doing it.
You know, it was kind of an indelible memory to be put in a young man's mind.
I totally was caught up in the movie making. It was such a complete surprise. We really hadn't seen anything like that.
I loved its suspense. I loved its political incorrectness. I love watching Clint Eastwood.
All I remember is it was entertaining.
The amazing thing about that movie was that it really did reflect the world at that time.
I'm talking about having our fingers in the holes and the whole damn dike's crumbling around us.
Vietnam, where a squad of U.S. 8th Cavalry is ambushed by an entire...
68, the riots had just happened. Martin Luther King had been killed. Bobby Kennedy had been killed. Things feeling like they were about to implode. A lot of people, you know, feeling disenchanted, disenfranchised, you name it.
The police seemed helpless to prevent riots. This was right in the middle of tremendous turmoil due to the Vietnam War.
The frustration of fighting a losing war in Vietnam at the time, you know, it got all of our manhood up in a dander and, you know, what's wrong with us?
And all of the bureaucracies and everything was favoring a Miranda decision that had come down a few years earlier.
People were angry. People were angry with a certain erosion of justice, erosion of a sense of the law protecting them.
Everybody was just sort of sick of worrying about the accused. They said, how about let's worry about the victims for a while.
And Anne Mary Deacon, what about her rights? I mean, she's raped and left in a hole to die. Who speaks for her?
There was an incredible increase in crime, incredible increase in violent crime. Society seems to be trying to find reasons to, you know, understand criminals of, you know, and particularly violent behavior.
I think we saw ourselves differently as a nation, and I think we desperately wanted someone to just keep things simple.
Society then just was looking for something to grasp and grab hold. And Clint came along with the right product and the right story and the right character, and I think the audience just really, like a magnet, attached itself to it.
To me, it's like it's wish fulfillment, you know, it's wish fulfillment for adults.
What Dirty Harry does is takes us to a simpler code a code of justice, takes us to a world where force works.
It doesn't even have so much to do with a gun or the shooting of a bank robber. I think it has to do with someone who's decisive. And everybody likes decisiveness.
He became it. He was the guy that people like me, who were underweight and beglassed and physically terrified of all conflict, sitting in the theater watching this guy and identifying with him and wishing I was him.
He probably fed some kind of suppressed rage.
And you know what that means. You're shit out of luck.
Here's somebody who does what a lot of us would want to do. A guy who comes and is willing to wade through all of the red tape and just go and do what we'd all like to be done.
Why do they call you Dirty Harry?
It sort of summed up everybody's feelings at that particular time.
I hate the goddamn system.
Callahan.
Sir?
I don't want any more trouble like you had last year in the Fillmore district. Understand? That's my policy.
Yeah, well, when an adult male is chasing a female with intent to commit rape, I shoot the bastard. That's my policy.
Harry Callahan is your classic, like, American anti-hero, you know, where he's against a system that seems to be designed to not protect its citizens in some way. And he's just a voice of reason.
I think Dirty Harry probably was in resistance to just stupidity, just out-and-out stupidity of something, well, you can't do that because of this. Well, why can't you do that? We've got to solve this.
This rifle might make a nice souvenir, but it's inadmissible as evidence.
And who says that?
It's the law.
Well, then the law is crazy.
Dirty Harry was very much against bureaucracy, against red tape.
Dirty Harry, if you watch, he always walks in a straight line in that movie. He doesn't go in circles. He doesn't go around corners. He just walks straight to the problem and either shoots it or saves it or does something. He's one of these people that you can count on to defy all the things we've been taught to be frustrated with in bureaucracies. He doesn't care if he gets fired. He doesn't care about anything.
Look, I'm coming down there in 5 minutes. You better have those files open, you pencil-pushing son of a bitch.
Here comes this cop who doesn't give a damn, who's being honest. And he's saying, you know, I like to hunt criminals. I hunt them with a big gun so that when I shoot them, they fall down.
Some guys just need to be blown out of their socks, period. And you don't have to enjoy it, you just do it. And I think that sentiment in our society is what Dirty Harry embodies. Whether I believe it, whether people believe it, they want to spend 2 hours watching a guy who does believe that. And sometimes it doesn't matter. Maybe he was beaten as a kid. Maybe he was molested. Right now, he's a sicko with a fetish and he kidnaps young girls. He needs to go. He needs to take one for the team and just get his head blown off.
Please, no more!
You read in the LA Times today that an inspector shot some guy. That cop should be taken off the street. Yet in the theaters, we can't wait to go see this guy and cheer him on.
I have the right for a life.
Where's the girl?
I have the right for a life.
The idea of a cop actually torturing the bad guy is pretty astounding.
This was a guy who could play on the same playing field, the crooked, uneven playing field of the villains.
This incredible pullback, this helicopter shot, wonderful virtuoso shot, sets up visually these two gladiators, this cop and this madman, absolutely isolated together in this world of their own making. Whoever it was who wrote this wizard ad line for Dirty Harry really summed it up. Said on the one sheet, Dirty Harry and the homicidal maniac. Harry's the one with the badge.
The character that Clint Eastwood plays is very much based on tough sheriffs and police officers that we have seen before, played by John Wayne and Gary Cooper.
The cowboy is moving into the city.
And that's where cop action genre comes from. The cowboy movie, the Western, is really dying in popularity over the course of the 70s and the 80s. And the cop movie, represented by Dirty Harry, is just coming in to take its place.
And the determination and the doggedness of the gunfighter is there with Dirty Harry. It allows for a certain mythic quality to occur within the work, because Westerns have the sense of myth.
San Francisco, in a way, is treated like the Wild West in that picture. You know, it's very extreme bad guys. You know, he's the sheriff.
The end of Dirty Harry is the end of High Noon. It's a classic, deliberately classic gesture, mimicking Gary Cooper's gesture, discarding the badge at the end of High Noon.
In a way, it's the old Western morality. The town needs the hero, but once the hero's wiped out the bad guys, the hero's either got to go or he's got to hang up his spurs, because they can't have him running around their streets shooting people.
They had a background story, of course, that he was had a very solitary existence. He didn't have a private life that he really cared much about.
Dirty Harry is God's lonely man. He's the true loner individual. He lives in a little apartment, a dirty little apartment with a couple of plaques on the wall and some, you know, beer in the icebox and a half-eaten cheeseburger. He really doesn't have any girlfriends.
Kind of guy that probably, when he dated somebody, was probably a secretary or a receptionist somewhere, or somebody he would meet along the way. I don't think he would be dating models and what have you.
Women swooned because he was so sexy, but he didn't know it. His character didn't know it, but more importantly, his character didn't care.
Hey, when the hell are you gonna get a haircut?
Well, whenever you do. Look, who's got time? I was up till 3 a.m. checking the search patterns.
Well, put in for overtime.
That'll be the day.
Dirty Harry was the urban warrior who is Frankenstein. No one likes him, but they need him. He's the guy in the cage that you don't want to acknowledge needing, and you certainly don't want to go on record as having hired or encouraged, but once they open that door and let him loose, the problem gets solved. And there's just this sense of the lone vigil that he keeps over San Francisco. By himself with no support, he's just that angel of vengeance.
I think Dirty Harry moved on from Westerns, the individual taking on the group, the one guy taking on tremendous system. And that's the sort of movies Don Siegel was making.
So if I need a partner, I'll get me someone who knows what the hell he's doing.
They went to Clint Eastwood. They said, "Who do you want to have directed?" He says, "Don Siegel. He's here. I know him. He's a good friend of mine," all this kind of thing. So they had Don Siegel hired by the end of the afternoon, probably.
As Ford helped Wayne mold this persona and then shaped it, I think that John Huston was instrumental in creating Bogart's persona. And I think that Don Siegel was instrumental in establishing Clint's persona.
1919. The war is over, and there is alarming news that women's skirts are going to become shorter. Already they are 6 inches above the ankle.
Don had been a montage director at Warner Brothers in the 40s. I mean, he's responsible for the montages in Casablanca.
Paris to Marseille. Then by train or auto or foot across the rim of Africa to Casablanca in French Morocco.
Don Siegel was a legendary guy. He did The Killers with Lee Marvin.
Don was probably the best B-movie maker in the world. He could take the least amount and do the most with it. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Very low budget, but one of the scariest movies you ever saw. I mean, he just handled it so well.
When I was a kid, you know, films like Riot and Cell Block 11 and the Body Snatchers, I mean, those were like the staples of my young movie-going life.
Clint respects Don to the utmost. He always felt that he got a lot of his style of doing things from Don.
Don Siegel didn't like any authority. He studio heads, producers, he was always in an antagonistic position.
He didn't suffer fools. I mean, he knew what he wanted. But he was the most brilliant film director I've ever worked with. I learned more about film acting from him than anyone else I've ever worked with.
I love Dirty Harry because he was better than anyone at delivering those pithy lines.
Riggs was right. You guys don't have enough experience.
They didn't sound like he was trying to be tough. They sounded like he was tough.
There's that great line at the end after Hal Holbrook blows up in Magnum Force. The man's got to know his limitations, which I love.
So the man's got to know his limitations, yeah.
That's just like some Chinese philosophy kind of stuff, just a deep kind of line.
That became one of my mantras between me and my buddies. We used to say that on the golf course all the time. You know, we used to go play golf on Saturdays and, you know, and can't get over that water with a 3-wood, you know, or something like that. And the guy would put it in the water and go, man's got to know his limitations.
Which is, for Harry Callahan, a relatively humble thing to say.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Go ahead and make my day. I mean, that's how many people wanted to say that so many times to so many people in so many places.
People sort of forget the first time they heard it because it's so oft-repeated.
And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
That's a great line. Guy's sort of reaching for a gun. He goes, go ahead, make my day.
I knew when I read that script, I knew make my day. I said, oh yeah, that's gonna be the key saying of this particular film.
Go ahead, make my day. Of course, the scene that sticks out in my mind is him with the hot dog and in the beginning of the movie, and he's got the guy on the ground and asking him if he fired 5 shots or 6.
You go to a man eating a hot dog, and he sees a robbery in progress.
Oh, shit.
And then he has to foil it on his own. There's kind of a style to it that is completely different.
That scene that became so famous.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
It's become such a part of pop culture now, but when you see that moment, it's one of the most cold-blooded things you'll ever hear one human being say to another.
Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
I think that moment is the moment at which Clint stopped being just an ordinary star and started being a superstar.
Yeah, I suppose that moment was defining. That's the one that sort of kicks it off, where people go, okay, this is going to be a different kind of ride.
Once something enters the culture that way, people are going to remember it.
If I had a buck for every American male who's come up to me and quoted that last line.
Well, this happens to be a .57 Magnum, punk. The most powerful handgun on Earth. And I gotta say,
all the excitement, I kind of forgot myself.
You've got to ask yourself a question.
Do I feel lucky?
Do I feel lucky?
Do you feel lucky?
Feeling lucky, punk.
Do you feel lucky?
Well, do you, punk?
I mean, I'm telling you, in the men's room, I'm at the urinal, and I'm just standing there, and, you know, and suddenly there's this guy looking at me and quoting,
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
One of the big characters of the Dirty Harry series is his gun.
It is a character. The Model 29 does become a character.
My, that's a big one.
Well, it's a .357 Magnum. I mean, it's the most powerful handgun in the world. I can't believe I just said that. It's like a cannon. It's like holding a miniature cannon in your hand. I mean, it's just a boom. It's got a big kickback. And what's cool about Harry is that he always just kind of did it one-handed, you know? I mean, you got all these guys in the movies nowadays, and they all got the stance going, you know, and they got the two hands, and they're going around the corners like this, you know, with the pistols. And, you know, Harry just walks in, he's just like, hey, bam! One-handed with that thing. And it's great.
Hearing that big-ass gun go off.
That magnified Magnum.
That
yeah.
magnified Magnum. The bad guy's gun would go, pow, pow, pow. And Harry's would be like, pow, pow. And Miami Vice took it, and every cop movie's taken it since.
You joining the act too?
Harry's got to be the godfather of the genre. He wasn't the first character, but he was probably the single most popular in the history of the genre. Everyone knows Dirty Harry.
Every movie after that seemed to be, for a while, about some cop that was on the edge, and he and his partner were on the edge and were going to go beyond the law.
That follows as the night follows the day, doesn't it? That if a feature film is successful, it generates godchildren.
After Dirty Harry movies, cops got real street. Harry really opened the door for a lot of very hairy characterizations.
There was more the vigilante justice stuff of Charles Bronson. And that was a cousin to Harry Callahan because it was the guy who's been wronged and he's gonna get the bad guys and he's a vigilante because the police just can't do it.
What Dirty Harry did was establish an edge to the action character that summed up, I think, what the 70s had to say about action heroes.
You could argue that Serpico might not have existed without Dirty Harry.
I think it opened up a whole new avenue of how police shows were looked at on television.
I think a lot of the cop shows of that era were born out of that, be it Streets of San Francisco or Kojak. There was that Fred Dryer TV show for years, Hunter, that was a direct lift from Dirty Harry.
Certainly NYPD Blue, the main character, that Sipowicz character who was remarkable, that's as close to Harry Callahan as you can get.
Movies like the Stallone movie Cobra are obvious takeoffs on Dirty Harry, where they hire the same actors and put them in almost the same roles. Everyone, in a way, either kind of just paying homage or doffing their hats to the biggest of the early iconic characters.
That sort of loner character against the system, I mean, it's something that I adopted in Midnight Run. Jack Walsh, the character that I wrote, that Robert De Niro played, he was a guy outside the system, you know, who basically had to turn his back on the system.
I know it was seminal in the back of my mind as I'm writing Lethal Weapon and the character of Martin Riggs. Characters who are sort of burned out, they don't care if they live or die, because when you're in that position of having nothing to lose, you know, you can really do some crazy things. You can truly go the route of the anti-hero.
You saw a whole generation of films kind of born out of that understanding of the anti-hero and somebody who travels that world between the black and white kind of totems of society and that gray area.
Dirty Harry has shaped the idea that a hero doesn't have to be lily white, pristine white hat guy, but can actually wear the gray hat. He's definitely the advent of the gray hat.
Once somebody does something so good that it can never be repeated, it sticks in everyone's minds forever.
Everybody loves Dirty Harry. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're gonna have something to appreciate about the Dirty Harry that fights for what's right.
When people who are lawless destroy everything in their path, what do you do? Dirty Harry handled the situation very well.